Right. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. This meeting of online presenters has begun. Now, guests, please note that in order to be a member of our club, you must be a current or former active member of Toastmasters International and have completed at least 6 Toastmasters official speeches alternately. If you have substantial relevant presentation experience, you may apply for membership after demonstrating your skills in a 2 to 3 minute speech delivered to our club. Now, our requests for memberships are subject to approval by the members of our club. If you have not already done so, please change your name on your panel to ensure you show your role. Now, I know all that's done, so I won't go into the details of how. Please keep in mind that we have members and guests from many countries throughout the world. So, as a professional organization, we ask that you please be aware of your language or word usage that may be considered offensive or otherwise insensitive due to cultural differences. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and your video and audio contribution may be used for club marketing purposes. Also, please remain muted when you are not speaking that way we don't disturb others. It's 2024. The last time you saw him, it was 2023. Now, it was not yet New Year, but it was new me taking up the role as the president again, which technically might be another resolution to lead online presenters because he was the first president of the club. Hope I was right on that one. I was right on that one, right, David?
Yeah, that is correct.
Everybody, help me welcome our president, David Carr.
Thank you, Joni. It's a pretty nice introduction considering that Joni took one look at me and my mad scientist hair and said, David, you look frazzled. And indeed I am. But frazzled and excited about some things coming up. Next week is our webinar contest. You might have heard about that. We've been trying to build up some excitement. One of the ways we're doing that is by inviting some folks from outside of our club to compete, try and make it a little bit more competitive. We wound up with 8 people who entered the contest, and we had 6 slots. So we did go through a process of reviewing videos that each speaker had submitted. And I thought at one point that one of our members might actually get bumped out. But it turns out that all of our members who want to compete are going to have a chance to compete next week. So our competitors include Andrei Smolenko, Gregory Bunchucks will be giving it a shot, Kirthikka, and Sunny are all going to be competitors from our club. And then visitors are actually a couple of people that we've seen here before. Mansour Hasib, who won our invitational edition, and also Jessica Breitenfeld, who was a real firecracker, who was also part of that last contest. I think she actually got disqualified because of time and said she had some issues with seeing the timer. So I have to remind her to make sure she has her own timing device and has we need backups and on top of backups when we're doing online presentations, because all sorts of stuff goes wrong. But we're going to try and make sure that some things go right as well next week. I'm very excited about this contest. We'll be doing some additional publicity about it now that we know who the final speakers are. In addition to that, I want to let you know that we have Roger Corville, who is an expert on webinars and online presentations of all sorts. He very early on, when we were starting this club, came in and did a workshop. He's come back on several other occasions when we've asked him to. Very generous person. Also, Cheryl Rausch, who many of you know as a keynote speaker, very active in Toastmasters International, speaking at conferences, as well as a pro speaker and accredited speaker. Both of them will be celebrity guest judges. Now, this is sacrilege because judges and Toastmasters are supposed to be anonymous. But this is no way, no how an official Toastmasters event. and they'd be mad at me if I said it was. So we don't have to follow the rules. We're making up our own thing. This is for fun, but it also has a serious purpose in driving home our mission, which is to show the value of speaking online and to help our members, to help the entire universe of people who want to speak online learn how to do it better and learn from the example of people who do it well. And that's not all. Carol Prahinsky, who is a professional speaker in her own right and who won our Toastmasters webinar contest the first couple of times we held it, she'll be coming back as another of our guest judges, and we'll have a few more. The judges will all come from outside the contest to try and level the playing field between members and non-members, because they won't necessarily know who's who. And even if they do, I'm sure they're pros. Even if they know you from other contexts, that's not going to earn you any points. You got to come and you got to bring your best game next week. So we're looking forward to that. With that, you've heard enough from me, at least for now. And it's time for me to turn this over to our Toastmaster of the day, also our Vice President of Education, Graham Cairns.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, I was going to say good afternoon, but I don't think there's anybody in afternoon. And good evening. Welcome to the 9th day of January 2024. Unless, of course, you're in a backward country like the United States, where it is still only the 8th. Sorry. Didn't really mean that, but I know that there are some of us. It is the 9th. I believe it is already after midnight in the UK, for example. So for Ruth and for Andre, it is stupid o'clock in the morning. But it is the change of seasons. This is our first meeting for the year. I'd like to welcome you all along. And the theme for today's meeting is, as I say, Seasons of Change. Seasons of Change is, in fact, a classic Australian rock song. But since none of you are Australian, you wouldn't recognize it. But it is. It's a great song. But it is also what we are in. The reason that we are members of this club, or in Ruth's case, considering membership of this club, is because we recognize that if we try to do business tomorrow with the tools of yesterday, then we're going to go out of business today because it just doesn't work. We are in a period of change. Now, obviously, COVID changed the world in a lot of ways, or at least it changed the world of business in a lot of ways. But that was only one facet. We've been doing this for a few years now because we recognize that this little box that we're here isn't just something for nerdy geeks. Computers are not just for, people who are, well, you know what computer people are like. But no, this is a part of how we live our lives, and learning how to use it puts us into these seasons of change. So while we're not changing seasons, we're in the middle of summer, for example, here in Australia. North Americans are in the middle of winter, although those in Florida may not be able to tell the difference. But we are in a season of change anyway. And so I'd like you to consider that as you're giving your presentations a little later in this meeting. There will be, of course, an opportunity for pretty much everybody to speak, either as a formal presenter with one of the formal roles that we have, or as table topics. So let's take a look at the agenda before we get too far into the meeting. I am your Toastmaster. We don't have a tip of the day for today, but our timekeeper is Jim Barber. Jim, would you like to indicate to us how you are going to tell us how our times work?
I will do my best, Mr. Toastmaster. I will say up front, I detest being timer. It is my least favorite role in Toastmasters. I have considered dropping out of Toastmasters rather than being Toastmaster. But since this is the first meeting of the year, I'm going to face my fears and I am going to be timer. And if all the gods smile upon me, when you meet the minimum time of each of our projects tonight, the green screen will come on and you will know that you can safely proceed at this point. You have met the minimum requirements. Halfway through, the yellow light will come on. As anybody in South Florida knows, yellow means speed up because the end is getting close. When you reach the maximum amount of time, the red light will come on. And as everybody in South Florida knows, the red light means really floor it now because you're running out of time and you've got 30 seconds before people are going to take you serious. So you got 30 seconds to wrap it up. And that is how it's supposed to work in theory. We'll see how it goes, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much. And I note that you say that you're not the timekeeper is your least favorite job. I have to tell you, my least favorite job is the next one. Andre Smolenko is going to be our R counter. Andre, what are you going to do as R counter today?
Thank you very much, Graham, for introducing our council of the day. Look, I just don't like this job as well. Looks like nobody likes what we're doing in this club, so we're still here for the same reason. Just keep on coming back and learning once more. So my job as the R counter is to count R's, you knows, and other filler words. I had a chat with my 16-year-old daughter the other day, and I said, do you know how many times you said, you know, like in 1 minute? She said, Dad, of course I do. This is how I speak with my friends. And then I realized the importance of, you know, ours and so on can be really, really significant depending on the audience of people you're speaking with. However, tonight I will be keeping my eyes and ears open for inappropriate use of all those filler words. And I come back to you at the end of the meeting with my short report. Back to you.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you for that. Now, the grammarian tonight is Kim Lemming. Now, Kim, I don't know whether you wish to introduce the word of the night or whether you wish me to, but what will you be doing as grammarian?
So I'd be happy to announce the word of the day. And as grammarian, I will be looking for great uses of the English language as well as the word of the day, which is whimsy. It's a noun. It means behavior or attitudes that are unusual, playful, and unpredictable rather than having serious reasons or purposes behind them. And I'd really like to share what my husband did. He said, hey, let me give you an alternate definition. So he looked it up on Google and said something that is intended to be strange and humorous, but in fact has little real meaning or value. Then he said, I'm the most whimsical person he knows. Not sure how to take that, but back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Kim, for that definition and introduction of whimsy. And it's perhaps whimsical of me to say this, but when I was choosing the word of the day, I did think of the great Blondini as a perfect example of whimsy. Moving on to our chat monitor, and that is Angela Heath. Angela, what will your role be tonight?
Okay, Toastmasters, as the chat monitor, I am looking for you to include some witty, whimsical information in the chat so that I can report on your good use of vocabulary. Looking forward to it. Back over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Madam Chat Monitor. Now, we've heard the grammarian will be looking for the use of language. We've heard the R counter will be checking on our use of filler words and things like that. This club has a similar but different role, same but different, as they say right across Asia, and that is the role of watcher. If you like, a visual version of those other roles. Andrew, how will you be watching us tonight?
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster of the day. I'll be looking at each of your frames and determine, are you showing facial expressions like Sunny's big smile? Are you dead center in your screen, such as Kim? Are you standing still or are you moving around like there's an earthquake taking place underneath Kirthikka? And Graham is also going back and forth. I guess he's back on that boat with a little bit of seasickness coming on. So I'll be watching and giving you a report at the end when called upon by the general evaluator.
Thank you, Andrew. One last ancillary role that I'm going to ask for details on is of the vote counter. Now, we've made life easy for David. We only have one formal speech and one evaluation, so there's not going to need to be any votes on those, but there will be for table topics. David, how are you going to call upon us to vote?
I will be posting a little coded link in the chat. And I would like you to click on that link, which will take you to a web page that gives you an opportunity to vote. And Toastmasters are known for voting on absolutely everything. So we may invent some things to vote on before the end of the meeting, but as of now, it's looks like it's going to be just table topics. I'll present a report on the winners at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Perhaps we could vote on the best dad joke of the day. Because I was supposed to do dad jokes during December, but then I got on a cruise ship, so I didn't end up doing them. I did think about doing Jokuary, but I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. But perhaps I was watching a movie on my computer and my cat kept stopping it. She found the pause button. No, that's not going to win the best dad joke of the night. No, it's not. Nope. No, unless I don't do any more dad jokes, which is probably something that you would think would be a good thing. Okay. In a Toastmasters meeting, we have some extemporaneous speaking, which we'll hear about a little later. We have evaluations, which are crucial to the Toastmasters experience. But of course, we also have the prepared presentations. The Toastmasters education program, and this is largely for Ruth Ellen's benefit since she has been a Toastmaster, but not in recent years. The Toastmasters educational system has changed over recent years. Instead of being books and manuals as we used to have, we now have pathways. There are currently 11 different paths which one can undertake. And that will be reduced to 6 paths very shortly, but currently there are 11. And during those paths, we are expected to achieve a number of goals. Once we have completed all 5 levels in a path, there comes what I believe to be one of the most important speeches of them all, and that is reflecting on the path. Now, Kirthikka is she's a relatively new member, not just of this club, but of Toastmasters, and she has been powering through her path. It has been a genuine honor to see how well and how comprehensively she has been powering through her dynamic leadership path. This is a path which is, well, its purpose is on the tin, dynamic leadership, learning all about it. We've seen her give her icebreaker. We've seen her give her speaking to inform. We've seen her giving some required projects and some elective projects. We've even seen her give her final presentation, a high performance leadership, 2 speeches about high performance leadership in recent months. Tonight, she gets to sign off and complete this path. And that is with her reflect on your path presentation. This is a little unusual in terms of length. Most Toastmaster speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. This one is 10 to 12 minutes. So, Mr. Timekeeper, can we please have a green light at 10 minutes, an amber or yellow in your case at 11 minutes, and a red light at 12 minutes? And with that, members, please welcome, with a speech entitled The A to Z of My Zoom Out to Zoom In, the completion of her path, the final speech to deliver the reflection on her journey in the Dynamic Leadership Pathways program. Please welcome Kirthikka Devi Venkataram. I'm sorry, anyway, Kirthikka, it's all yours. Please make her most welcome.
Thanks a lot, Toastmaster Graham. It's an honor and I feel really encouraging by your introduction. Let me share my screen. Just give me a minute. I'm all ready.
Yes, we can see your screen. When you're ready, Kirthikka, let me know and I'll introduce you again so that this will go swimmingly.
The thing is, I'm not able to see Jim. I'm just able to see. Let me.
Ah,
That's a problem.
Maybe Jimmy, you can spotlight her.
yeah, but of course, yeah, that works. Now we can see you and we can see Jim. Does that work for you, Kirthikka?
No, actually.
Ah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's fine now. Yeah, I'll start my speech.
Okay, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, with the A to Z of my zoom out to zoom in, please welcome Kirthikka.
Thanks a lot, Toastmaster Greg. It was a pleasure you introducing me and encouraging me a lot. The day has arrived. The clock is ticking, passing microseconds as macro hours. The cocoon that was coddled has become a fully grown butterfly to see a new world. I was preparing my cogent points for my Toastmasters job. I was thinking of the cogwheel that has driven me before joining Toastmasters. They were zeal, confidence, commitment, communication, consistency, compassion, excellence, and finally, the purpose to lead. These rolling mini cogs were driving me that was pedaled by autonomous power. They were igniting the sparks towards leading, influencing, and working towards a transformative, redefined version. First word that you uttered in your life, first friend, your first smile, everything is like a kind of great remembrance. Similarly, my first speech to Toastmasters Club was an unremarkable day and an uncomparable day to me. There were belly butterflies that started flying inside me that triggered adrenaline, rupturing my cells, adrifting my senses. I had no other option. Just connecting myself to the whimsical cloud gave me and soothed me in a much more better way. The icebreaker speech that I gave, which was supposed to be a casual talk, an introduction of myself to a corporate club, ended into an adumbrate speech. Adumbrate, it was like not good for me. I wrote a good write-up about me, a portrait, my maturing skills, but it turned exactly the inversion of my communication skill, which means my mature skills is inversely proportional to the communication skill. Did I ever feel difficulty expressing myself in an informal way, in an informal forum, or speaking about everything to my friends or family? Actually, not. I do not have this. But why now this comes out? Why now the cocoons are breaking down and rupturing as jellyfishes and jellies that sweats in my palm? Realizing my fear of public speaking, I slowly built myself, like trying out the way that I can overcome it with multiple vocal varieties during my daily conversation. To understand more about my strengths in my level 1 of dynamic leadership pathways, I prepared 2 speeches, which were like kind of high level to the speech level compared to the level of speech that is required for level 1, that too as a Toastmaster newly joined to a club, also as a new Toastmaster member. They were direct to consumer presentation, which was focused on DTC business model. and the other one was climatic change, its causes, and its effects. The first speech was more about providing an insight and introducing the DTC business model. This was like a kind of influencing and disruptive generation evolution that is happening in the online due to the online influence. It also involved speaking about transportation and supply chain related aspects. The second speech was like kind of that caused significant loss to the world because of global warming and its contributors. I excelled in both the speeches, reaching my first milestone in 40 days. But the zeal, the awareness that I have to improve a lot was still lingering inside. What should I have to do in my second level? Moving to the level 2 of my pathways, like learning your style, learning your leadership style, learning your communication style. It was a power-packed sachet of skill discovery level. It greatly adhered my chosen path, the dynamic leadership path. Knowing about leadership trait versus the managerial trait was enlightening to me. There were multiple situations where I assist and laid paths, laid sets and rules where the managerial trait has to be laid or the usage of leadership trait will be proved. This helped me to influence internal and external factors which were like highly informative and also practically possible for me. It was all because of Toastmasters. Now, the current state of level 2, which is like a kind of halfway through, is not complete. By then, I was also the VPPR, the Vice President Public Relationship for a corporate, where I started my journey just recently by. Moving forward, there were much more things to discover and to deliver. This helped me to understand the value of being open-minded and demonstrating integrity in your public correspondence. The third level was an excellent knowledge broadening level for me. I started exploring different online tools, started to know the basics of strategizing, speaking about an incident or an information in a way of articulating it in an interesting way. I flew in the sky, viewing through a bird's eye from an executive level. Thus, this was the time I joined Online Presenters Toastmasters. I gave a talk on the project called My Rallying Point in the Race. This was level 3 first speech. As a natural participative management influenced women, I'm being one of them. I created a rallying point to improve my negotiation skill and strategizing skill, bridging my comfort zone and not ignoring the economic. I assessed from multiple dimensions about my life happening, maybe the past events, and its value chain, the outcome that it has created. This level gave me the whole idea of what it takes to be a negotiator, what exactly negotiations, how you need to put forth yourself in front of a tough competitor. My presentations formed to explore new advanced market relevant tools that were moving forward in my level, explaining and self-expressing, which were quite evident, showing compassionate about my professional and personal growth. I entered my level. As a popular saying, practicing makes perfection. Practice paves path towards excellence. I exactly did this. Practiced every day, following the Feynman's technique, which was quite useful for me to demonstrate and communicate to a 5-year-old kid, like what you wanted to say in an articulating way. This was a kind of highly motivating thing for me. The relative change was always inverse to the level of motivation that I had, which was a pitfall and an area of improvement for me. Though collaborative projects, working and volunteering for an international tech non-profit organization empowered me, I, as a lead to a leading tech AI-centric community that empowered me, women to excel in their technology career always had certain setbacks during their communication, during the way that they put forth themselves. And that was also there in me. I worked exactly on those areas, hosting meetings, introducing speakers, presenting as a speaker in a webinar, formatting where are all bonus success, bringing my mature skills in an efficient way, joining online Toastmasters. Then, a dynamic growth gave the purpose of why I am here. This captivated me to move forward by walk the talk, learning about leadership, their leading style, transforming from mundane to mega, though not technically being one of the mundane type. The daily bedtime story to my kid was also a thinking opportunity for me to demonstrate my expertise. I traveled slowly to level 5 of this pathway, becoming more powerful in communicating, suppressing negativity. This level consumed a lot of my time researching, suppressing my negativity, and also to understand more about the leadership styles. It also gave me an opportunity to know or get a glimpse of what a responsible leader is like, what an ethical leader is like. There were high-level information as of my experience level, though you have to become a responsible and ethical leader, whatever level you are, was a learning that I took back. This evolutionary learning was highly helpful, building my time in a better way and building a better version of a leader. Social responsibility as an integrator and considering competitive advantage as an instrumentalist requires time to understand the niche of responsible and ethical leader. I proposed projects to my volunteering community, to my leadership fellow, where I set the goal for my project. Designing a project, executing, inducing audience attention were all completely easy for me by doing the high performance project leadership. Though that seemed to be an easy take initially, the affiliation and altruism leadership that honed my skills to better establish myself in a prompt way. Thus, sometimes you need to zoom in your mental lens to know the big picture, getting it close to you, and then zoom out to attain a panoramic and farther way, connecting yourself with your senses to get an executive's view. Thus, the prey of frenzied state relapsed into whimsical rejoicing, relegating fear, elevating a dynamic leader, a dynamic individual in me. Over to you, Toastmaster Graham. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirthikka. One of the things that I genuinely like in a brick and mortar club is that there are 2 occasions when a speaker gets a standing ovation in many clubs. One is when they give their icebreaker, and the other is when they deliver their reflect on my path. We can't stand for you here because it would look really ugly, and because I'm only wearing shorts and ain't nobody wants to see my knobbling knees, but well done, well done. I'm not going to say too much because that's the role of the evaluator, but total time of 12 minutes 20, so the time is pretty good. Well done. Now, we're not going to vote for best speaker tonight, so we do need something else to vote on. How about a second dad joke? A New Year's resolution is something that goes in one year and out the other. No, that's not going to win either. No, all right, no more dad jokes. All right, what I will ask you to do, though, before we move on, is because this is a milestone for Kirthikka. I would ask if you can send any comments that you have to Kirthikka, send them privately in the chat. There's no need to put them up into the public chat unless you wish to, but send Kirthikka privately any observations you would like to make about both her presentation today and about her journey to get to this point. Feel free to do that in the background. We'll move on now to, well, we don't have any prospective member speeches today, I don't believe. So we'll go straight from there to the table topics. Now, I love table topics. I'll be honest, I've not won an international speech contest at better than area level. I've not won a humorous speech contest at better than division level, but I have won the table topics contest at district level. And that shows you that I actually genuinely like table topics, but I do know that some of the people don't like them. You're all going to love it. You're going to love it because this is a season of change and you are going to use this opportunity to learn to love table topics. And of course, we know that we're going to love the table topics because the always smiling, perfectly effervescent, and amazingly whimsical Dr. Sunny will be presenting our table topic session. So, Sunny, if you'd like to explain how table topics is going to work, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and anyone watching on the replay. The purpose of the table topics portion of our meeting is to provide an opportunity for members in our meeting to practice their impromptu skills when they don't have a lot of time to prepare an answer. Our theme is Seasons of Change. There's really nothing whimsical about that. When it really comes to it, it's kind of thought-provoking. So I will call on several members of our audience and we'll see how far we get. My first question, winter resilience. Winter is often associated with resilience. Describe a challenging time in your life and lessons that you learned that helped you endure and grow stronger. Angela, winter is often associated with resilience. Describe a challenging time in your life and the lessons that you learned and how they helped you endure and grow stronger.
Thank you, Miss Table Topics Master. Winter resilience. Listen, I'm in winter resilience right now, right at this very moment. I am sitting in a corporate suite in Phoenix, Arizona, exploring whether it's possible for me to become a snowbird. And the challenges that I have faced, you would not believe. Like something as simple as changing my address. I really have to be resilient dealing with this big problem. You see, the post office never told me I had to give them my driver's license to prove my identity. I filled out the necessary forms. I went back the day before leaving to 3 different post offices, trying to make sure everything was okay. I never got an email. Where I'm forwarding, never got anything. Oh yes, everything is fine. I arrive in Arizona and I find out they need my ID. And at first they tell me, you can't do it from Arizona, got to do it from Maryland. So winter resilience, I am in the middle of it right this very moment. And so when we get to the summer resilience, I'll let you know how it ended up. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much for sharing your winter resilience and maybe becoming a snowbird. Just as we declutter our homes, what aspect of your life or mindset do you feel needs a bit of spring cleaning, and how would you go about it? David, earlier I heard you talk about some decluttering, so I'll ask you again, just to declutter our homes, what aspect of your life or mindset do you feel needs a bit of spring cleaning? And how would you go about it?
Really need to declutter my attitude towards table topics because I get all bollocksed up around table topics. I've been doing it for years. Actually, at some point, I was picked to represent my club in at least an area level contest for table topics. At which point I promptly blew past my time limit and got disqualified. But usually my problem with table topics is actually more that I am thinking too hard about trying to give an honest, in-depth, and soul-searching answer when actually I really need to be glib and lie a little bit if I need to. And so I pulled it off a few times, a few times here and there, but often I get frozen.
Mhm.
And actually, I was trying to give some advice to my son. I've been dragging my son along to Toastmasters at my local club, Club Awesome. And he's got a couple of times, he's been given table topics and he will just stand there uncomfortably, looking down at his shoes until somebody tells him it's time to depart from the stage. And while I was trying to impart words of wisdom to him, as we were driving someplace, he got so distracted by my explanation that he ground the tire of the van against the median and blew the tire out. So apparently my parenting and advice giving skills also need some strong decluttering. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you so much. I'm with you on the decluttering, but I hire help. And that's how I get through it. Our next question, we're going to changing seasons and changing goals. How do you adapt your personal and professional goals to the changing seasons in your life? Share an example of a goal or adjustments you've made. Ruth Ellen, how do you adapt your personal and professional goals to the changing seasons in your life? Share an example of a goal adjustment you've made. Maybe Ruth Ellen isn't here. Let's see.
Ruth Ellen, you're unmuted, but you don't have any volume on your mic. So
we were able to hear her earlier.
Who, me? Or Ruth Ellen? Ruth Ellen?
Ruth Ellen.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
Ruth Ellen.
So maybe she has like a loose connection with the microphone or something, or
Unmute one more time. Click on it one more time.
Yeah, you're muted again, Ruth Ellen.
Okay.
How about now?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, yes.
So with that in mind, I guess adjusting my goals actually includes tech. So one of the challenges I've always had was being ahead of the curve, wanting to make sure that I'm staying relevant, staying present, but also staying competent in everything I'm doing. And one of the challenges with AI and the way we are in the world right now is that I feel like I'm behind. So the thing that I've had to adjust is making sure that I'm always constantly learning in the tech field. And that's why I want to join online Toastmasters, online presenters. One of the other things I've identified earlier on as well is that in the HR space, there's a change coming, and I want to make sure that I'm part of that change and can navigate that. So I've also put myself down to do a master's in HR. So those are the things that have helped me feel like I'm a bit more ahead of the game, to feel much more competent in the area. So thank you for that question, Kim.
Thank you very much for sharing. And I hope that this year you become a really great tech savvy chick. Thank you so much. Now we're moving on to the butterfly effect. Small changes can have a big impact. Describe a seemingly whimsical decision you made that led to a major positive change in your life. Kim, small changes can have a big impact. Describe a seemingly whimsical decision you made that led to a major positive change in your life.
So, two, and thank you so much for the question, Miss Sunny. I just am so glad to have you back at our club and just hello. I'm gonna totally mimic what David said. I have a real challenge with table topics. And as far as something that was whimsical that changed it, I just, because I'm Blondini, I have no idea. I'm gonna honestly just really have nowhere to go with this one. I'm like stymied. So I'm just gonna tell you a story about I don't know. I'm actually having a hard time with this one. So
You can always pivot. You can always pivot to talk about anything else you'd like.
okay, I'm gonna tell you about our last cruise, which is so randomly not what you're talking about. So we went on our last cruise. My husband got COVID, stuck in COVID jail. But before that happened, I just have so much guilt about this. So I think that's why I just want to share this with you, that we were doing the different excursions, and I was like, suck it up, Buttercup, because I just thought that he was feeling a little bit bad, but not really. So we were in Alaska. We were on a glacier in Juneau. We took the helicopter up to the glacier and landed, and here we are hiking the glacier, which we thought was going to be not really challenging, physically challenging, but it was. And my poor husband is on his watch, checking to make sure that his heart is working. He's doing EKGs. And I'm like, suck it up, Buttercup. Dude, this is nothing. And anyway, it was great. And I am so sorry about the table topics. This is not my strength. And obviously, for one of my New Year's resolutions is to get better at this. Back to you, table topics master, Sunny.
Thank you so much. And always remember that that's why we're here. And sometimes once you get used to not being afraid to pivot, you can just talk about anything. And that's talking about changing your attitude a little bit, probably. So thank you so much. Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, do we have time for any more questions?
I believe we do. According to my agenda, we need to hand to the general evaluator at 43, and we're at 33, so we've got time for probably 2 or 3 more.
Okay, wonderful. I have a question for you. I'm supposed to ask the question first, but here we go. If you could spend a summer in any place in the world, learning and growing and changing, where would it be and why? Again, summer of possibilities. If you could spend a summer in any place in the world, learning and growing and changing, where would it be and why? That is for
Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Well, Ruth Ellen, I'm going to call you a fellow Toastmaster, even if you're not currently. There was a movie that got my attention many years ago. It was called The Endless Summer. And it was the story, it was a documentary of a group of young men who spent a year searching for the endless summer. They were surfboard riders, and they literally moved from country to country, chasing the summer, having a perfect year where they were in summer in Australia, then in South Africa, then in California. They had summers in South America. They had summers in Europe. They literally chased the sun around the world for a year. I'm not going to chase the sun around the world, but I am going to chase my son's mother around the world. About 2 years ago, as many of you know, we got a kick in the guts. Shirley got a diagnosis which might have reduced us from having 25 years more to live together to only having 25 weeks, half a year. As it turns out, Modern medicine is amazing, and so are the surgeons and the oncologists and the radiation therapists, all of them. Anyway, everything is good, but we decided where we're going to travel. We're going to become classic skins, spend the kids' inheritance now. And we're doing that. And we are literally chasing each other around the world. This year, we've been on, I think it was 5 cruises. We did trips to Japan. We did trips to Thailand, we did trips to Kuala Lumpur, we did trips around Australia. This coming year, in just a couple of weeks, we're going to do 5,000 kilometres to North Queensland. Then later in the year, we're going to Anaheim for the Toastmasters International Convention, across to Washington, DC to catch up with my daughter. But we will do other trips as well. We are going to spend the year travelling. We are going to get lots of adventures, and I'm going to keep telling you about them in club meetings. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you so much for sharing your summer of possibilities, and congratulations for still being able to chase your wife around the globe. Now let's chase a little bit of, well, some more changes. Turning a new leaf. Share a habit or mindset you've recently changed for the better, and just tell us maybe a little bit about how that change came about. Jim, I can take the time for you if you like. The question is, turning a new leaf. Share a habit or mindset you've recently changed for the better, and talk about maybe how that change came about.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. I'm pretty sure it's against Toastmasters policy and bylaws to call on the beleaguered timer to answer a table topics question. That is just not fair at all. Thank you, but I'm timing it, but I appreciate your checking point, because my mindset change is, as I indicated earlier, that I hated the idea of being timer. I detested it. I did not like being timer. I would do almost anything to avoid being timer. But this is my opportunity to change that mindset. And I can say honestly now that I detest being timer more than ever. It is a horrible position. I do not ever want to do it again. And calling on me to do a table topics question while I'm diligently trying to record everybody's time, keeping track of my own time, and so on like that is just not fair at all. So you definitely pushed it over the edge. I detested it before. I cannot stand it now. I love table topics. I love Toastmasters. I detest timing. That was my mindset. That is still my mindset, and that will forever be my mindset. Nothing whimsical about my response, Madam Topics Master.
Boom. Tell us how you really feel, Jim. Okay, let's see, can I gather my thoughts and change a little bit here? All right, I have another question. The season of relationships, because relationships go through different seasons. So reflect on a friendship or partnership that has experienced change and share how it has evolved over time, or pivot. This question is for Andrea. Relationships go through different seasons. Reflect on a friendship or partnership that has experienced change and maybe share how it has evolved over time, or you can pivot.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Table Topics Master. One of the changes that I've been going through is with my business partner. That's we partnered up a number of years ago. It's a lady. She sets up her own insolvency practice in Manchester, helping small businesses going through bankruptcy. And I was helping her, getting her leads and clients and so on. And then in a number of cases, my clients came back to me saying, look, we're just not happy with the services that your partner was providing. And I had to have quite an honest chat with my friends. We've known each other for many years, about 18 years now. And to me personally, that was challenging, because I realized that even though we're friends, I had to be honest with her and tell her that, look, some things not working. She got upset. Yeah, I didn't expect that. I thought that she was professional. She could take it up the chin. She didn't. She went really, really mad. And I regretted. I really regretted at that time my decision being honest with the business partner. Then a few months later, I found a new business partner. And I found not only the business partner, but better opportunities that I wouldn't have at that time. In my experience, when things not going according to the plan, being honest is a challenging move that people can regret. However, without making that first step, there will be no opportunities. That's something I would like to share with you that happened with me, perhaps that could save you time and money, and you can be honest about how you feel. Back to you, Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much for sharing. And each one of you today has added to our lives this new year. So with that, I am going to say everyone has done a great job, and I return control to our Toastmaster of the day, Graham Cairn. Seasons of Change.
Thank you, Dr. Sunny, for that fabulous table topic session. And I'm going to say, I love that picture over your right shoulder. I have no idea what it is. I'm trying to work out whether it's a microphone or a microscope, but it looks fabulous. And, you know, yep.
Can we
All right.
check whether everybody was? Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just
Times were
looking. We
posted.
have
Yes.
Angela went 145, David 203, Ruth Ellen 140. Yeah, that looks to me like everybody was within time. Oh, Jim, you were close, but that's all right. You can still be a contestant. So,
That
everyone,
was
in a
deliberate. That
moment,
takes skill.
yes. In a moment, David will put a link into the chat. Please, when that link appears, click on it and vote for your best table topic presenter for this evening. That completes my role as Toastmaster for the day, and I'll now hand control of the meeting to our general evaluator. Please welcome the one, the only, don't swoon, she's only human. Here she is, Marianne Grady.
Why, good evening, fellow Toastmasters. So happy to see you this evening, and Happy New Year to all of you. Tonight, I will be facilitating the evaluation portion of the meeting, and this is where we get the gifts of feedback, and often where we learn the most when we're listening to our own evaluations and our helpers evaluating others. So open up your ears, and I hope that you will find a little gem for yourself. So the first part is we're going to evaluate the prepared speaker. And we only had one this evening, Kirthikka, and Joni Renee Laidlaw will be doing that evaluation for us of that amazing reflection. And thank you, Kirthikka, for that. So please welcome Joni as she evaluates Kirthikka.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Kirthikka, I liked the whimsy in your title. It made me interested in finding out exactly how this path worked. Now, I did say it earlier, but I'll say it again. I am on my 10th path, and as we know, Toastmasters has 11. Guess the path that I chose to avoid like the plague, the one you are happening to do, for a couple of reasons. It's so been done. I'm assuming that it must have some value since every Toastmaster does it. And therefore, I've heard about dynamic leadership so much. It took a lot to change my mind, and I can tell you, congratulations, you did. I liked the way you put your points together. Not only did you do a PowerPoint with information, now as somebody with an accent, because sometimes the Jamaican jump out and you really can't help it, we find it hard to pass along our message, especially when we become passionate. But having the slides helps to assist those to read along as well. It also helped me to follow the steps of what you were actually doing, where you were in terms of level 1, level 2, level 3. My suggestion would be for you in the future, though, to try using PowerPoint as a virtual background. It was really hard for me to be looking at the PowerPoint than at you. So most of my comments are going to be more about the overall spoken presentation as opposed to your physical gestures, etc., because I spent the time reading the slides, which took away from me actually engaging and looking at you. Now, while if you were incorporated in the slides, PowerPoint as a virtual background, Prezi, then I could have the joy of both neurodivergence. I could look at you and the information on the same screen to be better able to evaluate. I would have liked more whimsy in your speech. With the title that you had, it made me think that you were going to come with more comedic undertones based on what you would be saying. But I did really, really like the fact that it had earth, fire, wind, and water. So I added my own whimsy. Will I be doing dynamic leadership? Yes. And hopefully with earth, fire, wind, water, you said space, but I'll say heart, I too can evolve to be Captain Planet with all of those combined. And I thank you for combining all of the information and the layout on the projects, the how they helped you be better. Hopefully they'll help me. Back to you, our general evaluator.
Why, thank you for that very thorough evaluation. Now, next we're going to go through our role players. And the first one up to bat here is Mr. Andrei Smolenko, and he will be our counter. Put your hands together for Mr. Smolenko.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator. As an experienced and advanced Toastmaster Club, we did well. Looks like most of us got the hints that I will be watching and listening, and we did really, really well. Not many R's and ohms and inappropriate use of English language. However, there are a few things I would like to bring to your attention. For example, Dr. Sunny using so, perhaps you could pay a little bit more attention to that. The same goes to Angela Heath. So is the word to look out. Ruth Ellen, again, the word so. And Kim Leeman are. I've noticed that on a few occasions. At the same time, I would like to compliment Kirthikka. I could not find even a single filler word in her speech. So well done. And back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andre. Next up, we have our grammarian. And tonight, that role will be filled by Ms. Kim Leeming. Kim, please let us know how we did with our grammar.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Okay, so here we go. The first use of the word of the day was from our Toastmaster of the Day, Graham Carnes, when he said that he had Blondini in mind when he came up with the word of the day, a whimsy. So big thumbs up to you, Mr. Graham. The second time we heard the word of the day was Angela Heath when she mentioned that she'd be looking for whimsical language in the chat. Thumbs up to you as well. And Sunny, Seasons of Change. There's nothing whimsical about that. Another great use. Okay, David, this is not a use of the word of the day, but just a wonderful use of the language. I get all bollocksed up about table topics. Not sure what that means, but I have to tell you that I got all bollocksed up when I tried to do my table topics. And Joni, I like the whimsy in your title regarding her evaluation of Kirthikka's speech. Big thumbs up. And 3 or 4 times or more, Joni gets the award. Again, big thumbs up for the most use of the word of the day. Whimsical, 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 whimsical. Great job, Joni, and back to you. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Kim. That was terrific. You really had your ears on tonight. Next up, we have our watcher. And tonight, Andrew Byrne has been watching you. Andrew.
Thank you very much. The one thing I would say is that the club has really evolved. Everyone's background, with the exception of Andre, is lit up. but it's not hurting him too much. He still has a light shining on his face. You can see his facial expressions. But if you look at others amongst the screens, you can see Kim, very bright with her background, bringing out her facial features. Jim Barber, Graham, everybody pretty much has a very Sunny has a great balance of light, and you can see her face. And that's really a problem for some people, particularly if they are of darker skin and they don't put appropriate lighting on themselves. Their face fades out in the background. And so these are things to be aware of. I think that one of the things that I notice in terms of Angela, at the top of her head, there is a light that's reflecting in her mirror. And if she could change her angle, that would be less distracting for her. So I think everybody has done a great job in terms of lighting and selecting their background. And I give kudos to everybody. It wasn't whimsical.
Why, thank you, Andrew. Now we are going to find out what we were chatting about tonight. Please welcome my friend, Angela Heath.
Okay. The chat was not quite as whimsical as I thought it would be. We have an announcement for a webinar. Tune into, it's coming up 2 days, the do's and don'ts of a speech that was dropped in the chat. I love how we gave the definition of the word of the day. It said, as an example, it was a sudden burst of whimsy to fly to bowing. That is pretty cool, right? I wish I could just say, oh, let me fly to bowing. Kirthikka, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. She put in chat because she's actually looking for a job. So if you know of any positions for product manager, you can back channel her. Jim says he still hates being the timer. However, unfortunately for him, our VPE says he will take it upon himself to appoint him as timer every opportunity that he gets. And that is my report for the chat. Back to you.
Well, thank you, Angela. So happy you're joining us again. And I loved your resolution that we'll see more of you this year. Now I will give you my evaluation of the meeting. We did start on time, and I happen to love Graham's opening because talking about seasons of change in the new year, so appropriate, and it just kind of gets us off on the right foot. Now, it was followed shortly after with Sunny's table topics. Now, I love the topic and how you tied it in with the theme, but what I will say is your questions were so thoughtful and they lead us to learn a little something about one another. And in this world that's online, it's really nice to learn a little bit about each other. So I really appreciate those kinds of table topics, and I thank you for that. I too noticed that bollock stop. I actually looked it up. So thanks for introducing a new word to me, David. And I am done. It was a great meeting, and I'm happy to say we're on time. So Mr. Vote Counter, do we have a table topics winner?
Well, technically, if I went by the actual numbers that I'm looking at in the screen in front of me, we have a three-way tie, but there are no ties in here. There is always a winner. And so as tiebreaker, I will award the win to Andrei Smolenko.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you, David. And I will turn it now back to our Toastmaster of the day, Graham Cairns.
Thank you very much, Marianne, for your fabulous general evaluation. Thank you, everyone, for your meeting. I would say, and something that, Joni, when you're doing your introduction and you talk about this being an international club, what's the actual phrasing that you use about being careful about You're still muted. I don't know why.
Word usage and language.
Word usage. Be careful of word usage and language. I loved the fact that David used bollocksed up. And in fact, when he used it, I went and looked at the Webster's definition of bollocksed up. And the Webster's definition of bollocksed up is to make or do something in a clumsy or unskillful way. And for those of you in North America, that's probably fine. But what you may not know is where the bollocks in bollocksed up comes from. It's a mildly irreverent reference to testicles. And so when something is bollocksed up, you've really ballsed it up, is how it would be said in the UK or Australia, or, bollocksed up would be used. So just letting you know, sometimes the best of intentions don't quite work the way that we like. But that's what I like about international clubs. I learn something new every day. I did not know, for example, that bollocksed up wouldn't carry that context in the US because the definition doesn't tell you where it comes from. Whereas those
so you folks went and looked it up. I've never looked it up. It's just a word that came down to me from my father. What can I tell you?
Fair enough. It was only that I thought, oh, there's an interesting use of words. Listen, as Toastmaster, I want to say thank you for everybody for a terrific meeting. I've been happy with the way that the meeting has gone. I hope you've been happy with the way that I did as Toastmaster. And I look forward to our meeting next week on the subject of which I will, before I hand back to, should I call for guest comments from Ruth Ellen, or do you wish to do that, David, as president?
You're doing it, so why don't you do it?
Ruth Ellen, this is your second visit here. You have mentioned that you'd like to join us. We've probably let you know that we'd like you to join. How did you find today's meeting? And don't say you clicked on the link and there it was.
That was going to be my response, to be fair. So thank you for that. Easy get out. All as usual, very engaging group, very well spoken, and I learned from all of you here, and I think that's key, right? Because I'm trying to develop, and so it's welcoming. It's also helpful to hear the feedback that people receive as well, and I like the timekeepers. Very what's the word? Very authentic feedback on the role and the development going through. So yeah, I like it. I'm enjoying the whimsical nature of parts of the today, and I'm also trying to pause a bit more based on what the Arcanto said as feedback, so that I'm not using filler words. So it's all good. I find it very helpful, and you should be proud of your club for being so unique but also impactful.
Thank you, Ruth Ellen. Thank you for those kind words. We're proud of the club. That's why we're here, and we'd love to have you come along again. Now, to wrap us up, you've got 90 seconds, David. One last chance to plug next week's meeting. President of the club, David Cutt.
Yes, next week is going to be our webinar contest. There's not a huge number of roles to fill. Most of a number of people here are actually competing next week, so that's their role. We have judges coming in from outside the club, so I don't need to recruit you to be judges. I do need a timer. We probably should have 2 timers, because as I mentioned, things go wrong with time. No, Jim, you're off the hook. We got another role for you, Jim. But Marianne, Kim, Joni, who wants timer? And I probably also need a ballot counter to assist me. Even
I'll
though
take whatever you want.
I'll be happy with timer.
Time.
I'll do ballot count.
I guess that makes me timer.
Okay, so we got 2 timers and a ballot counter. That sounds, I think that's about it. We may be in touch over the course of the week. But also we are in a campaign to try and book some roles more than 1 week in advance. So I'll also be sending out a note about not next week, but the week after that. If you could sign up ahead of time for roles, if we could get, actually, is there anybody who knows whether they could be the Toastmaster of the day on the 20th?